Well, several coalition MPs are arguing the case for removing restrictions and reopening borders if mass protests in cities over the weekend don't trigger an increase in coronavirus infections. Health experts are waiting to see if there's a spike in cases within 2 weeks. New South Wales Liberal Senator Hollie Hughes says if there's no new infections, people should be allowed back to work. She joins me now from Canberra. Hollie, thanks for joining us tonight. I think that makes so much sense. Let's just hope that the madness at the weekend hasn't sparked an increase in COVID cases.
I think, Peter, you have to accept that over the past few months, Australians have done the most extraordinary job in flattening the curve. We've got people who've been stood down, businesses have been shut down. Anzac Day, we all stood in our driveways. We've had people sitting in their cars when they've been saying goodbye to loved one at funerals. Somehow or other, these protesters, though, thought they were more important than every other Australian. But I think ultimately we all hope that there isn't a spike, that they haven't set off a second wave of coronavirus. And in the next 2 to 3 weeks, because that's how long we're going to wait to find out if that's what's occurred or not. But if in 2 to 3 weeks we don't see a spike in infections, if we don't see any community spread of coronavirus throughout, you know, the vast number of states where we saw these protests over the weekend, the premiers of these states have zero justification for keeping the restrictions at the level that they are. People need to be allowed to go back to work. The economy needs to start opening up again. And if there is no spike, if there is no second wave, we absolutely need to see restrictions start to relax. We need to see internal borders opening up. It's out of control that so many people, their businesses are struggling, hospitality, tourism, are being absolutely impacted because state premiers are remaining, you know, absolutely steadfast on these restrictions when they're seeing 0 cases of coronavirus through community spread.
You have totally nailed it, Senator Hughes. That is exactly what I'd say 80% of the Australian public are thinking. All right, now, you want to talk about businesses supporting Australian-made products. It makes a lot of sense as well.
Look, absolutely, and Australians generally want to support Australian businesses. But at the moment, in so many states, Australians aren't even allowed to go back to work. And there's a lot of businesses that workers aren't able to work from home. Workers have been stood down while they're unable to participate in their workforces. Hospitality, tourism, those sorts of sectors have been impacted so significantly and so severely. And if you look at what's happening in Queensland, these people are almost like political prisoners. It's almost like the closure of the Queensland borders is more about Anastasia Palaszczuk's re-election than it has anything to do with getting the Queensland economy re-going, that it has anything to do with what's happening with the community spread of coronavirus. And if there's no spike, particularly in Queensland after the protests we saw there, there is zero justification for keeping the borders closed. They absolutely need to see the support of those businesses. New South Wales, if you want to have a family over and it's a couple with 4 children, one of the kids has got to stay at home or one of the parents has got to stay at home. It's absolutely ridiculous. So if we don't see a spike, and I mean, I cannot tell you how much I hope that these people have not risked the success that the Australian community has had in flattening the curve. $4 billion a week will be the cost to our community and our economy if these people are responsible for a second wave. But if we do avoid a second wave, if we avoid the spike, then absolutely our economy should be allowed to get going again. People should be allowed to travel again. Restaurants, pubs and clubs should be allowed to open up to more people so that they can actually start to be profitable again. People should be allowed to travel, take vacations. And I mean, if we're not going overseas, what better place to be stuck in to do domestic travel than Australia? You can do everything from ski to scuba dive. I mean, it's absolutely the best place in the world that you could ever want to be stuck in if you have to do domestic travel only.
100%. Senator Hollie Hughes, thanks for joining us tonight from Canberra. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Peter.
All right, now for a check of the latest weather, I'm joined by meteorologist Alison Osborne. Alison, another